All right, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 66. Hey, in like 5 years or something, it'll be like the devil number. In the 60s. But anyway, this week, it was my pick.
Yep.
And I picked An American Werewolf in London from 1981, way back when like Hitler was around and stuff. It was pretty wild, the 80s. And yeah. I'm gonna slap this one, Maverick, with a nice 7. A nice
Really?
7. It has a lot of stuff I really like, but admittedly, it does tend to drag.
It did.
So, but I still liked it. So I'm gonna give it a nice little 7. I'm gonna give it that.
I'm gonna finish that up with a nice 3, so it gets 10.
Hey, this is like Beetlejuice. This is just opposite now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Son of a bitch. Well, to be fair, I did when I picked the movie. I even went. I think you're gonna hate this movie. So.
this movie, it like you said, it dragged like a motherfucker in some parts, but then out of nowhere, 0 to 100, just it would take off.
Yeah.
And
Well.
I'm like, I'm confused.
Yeah. Like the parts that it dragged, I mean, it dragged. Like, it was very noticeable how long it was taking. But then when stuff was happening that I liked, it was like they were doing everything right. But, yeah, so anyway, I'm stick with my 7. Nice little score. But, spoiler warning for An American Werewolf in London. If you've never seen it, we're going to ruin everything about it. So you've been warned. Also, new mic on this cast, so if it sounds, I haven't really done anything, so I don't know how it's going to come across in the podcast yet, but
It sounds great, but your other mic sounded great too. So I like I'd have to hear them side by
but
side.
that's like Discord though, so like recording wise, I don't know. But anyway, so new mic, just keep that in mind. Let's start off, Maverick, with I told you yesterday. We met up for lunch, Maverick. We had a nice Chipotle lunch. And I told you that there was a part in this movie, like 40 minutes in, I had completely forgot about, and it was happening, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Can we talk about the random Nazi werewolf nightmare?
It was like that came out of nowhere too.
It was
happened
wild.
like 2 or 3 times in the movie, and I just
Yeah.
out of nowhere, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because they do. Because dude, we'll get it, but he has nightmares and stuff. And so he has this nightmare where he's hanging out with his family in their house. And then, like, someone's knocking on the door, and his dad goes and opens it up. And just werewolves and Nazi, like, SS uniforms break in and just start...
Yeah, fucking just laying
into him. One of them, like, goes over and grabs dude and puts a knife to his throat, and he watches as his family gets shot and killed, and then they cut his throat real nice and deep, like, and then he wakes up, and he's next to his love interest for the movie, and he's like, I had a terrible nightmare, and she's like, I can help, and so she goes to, like, open the shades, and then another Nazi werewolf pops out and starts stabbing her.
Yeah.
And he's like, ah, and then he wakes up again, and he has a great where he's just, holy shit.
It was insane. It gave me like fucking Dead Snow vibes. I don't know if you watched that, but it's like a Nazi zombie like horror but like funny flick. And it gave me those vibes. But yeah, it was weird. Like,
don't get me wrong, I liked it. But
no, it didn't fit in the movie.
No, it's completely like, and I don't really think there's any message there. with the werewolves wearing Nazi uniforms. I just think homie that made the
Yeah.
movie was like, check this out.
Fuck it. He said fuck it and just threw him in.
Yeah.
This was 81, so we were
81.
like, we weren't even born. That was like 10 years, almost 20 years. I was born in 98.
99, baby.
So like I can't relate to that time at all, and I don't know shit about 81. So
This came out.
yeah, apparently, yeah. But I don't know
need to know.
fucking the Nazis were big back then, and that's why they were thrown in, or
I don't know. I did like my favorite thing when I was looking stuff up about this movie is apparently the dude who directed it and wrote it and stuff. He also, I want to say, directed. You ever watch Animal House with Jim Belushi and stuff? Thomas meant to say John Belushi, not Jim Belushi, his brother. My apologies.
let me Google it real quick because it sounds familiar.
Yeah, you probably, yeah, but it's super famous, fucking 70s comedy and stuff.
No, I watched this.
But when this movie was coming out, American Werewolf in London, the way that they would, on like the posters and stuff, they would say, you know, from the guy who made Animal House or whatever. So people went to this movie being like, all right, it's going to be a nice comedy, you know? And to be fair, there are a lot of comedic elements to this movie. It's even listed, if you look it up, as a horror comedy. But the first 10 minutes or whatever, the people walking in and you get to where the werewolf is like jumps out and starts murdering people, they were like, what's going on? they were just so upset because they thought it was going to be this nice comedy, and it was
Definitely not.
No. Which how do you feel about that? I think, to be fair, I'm not very well versed with werewolf movies. I haven't watched very many, but that opening, like, thing with the wolf going around and you can hear it and stuff or whatever, I think was really well done. How they do the first wolf attack.
Yeah, that really drew me into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They keep telling them to stay on the road.
Stay on the road. Yeah,
and beware the moon. And these two fucking dumbasses immediately don't listen.
Yeah, immediately go off the road.
They leave the bar, or technically, I think they got kicked out, but they leave the bar.
I don't think they really got kicked out. They were just the people were not vibing well, and so they were like, "We're gonna leave."
Yeah. So they leave the bar. I think they ended up repeating "Stay on the road, beware the moon," and they're like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Then they look down, they're not on the road, and they're like, "Oh shit!" Maybe then they hear the wolf or whatever the fuck is howling, and they're like, "Let's go back." And immediately just lost. They don't know where the fuck they are, which I don't know how. Like look like they were walking in a straight line, so just turn around. But, I mean, how could you fuck up that bad? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, like that didn't, when they're like, we're gonna head back, and they turn around, it's like, unless we missed it, they just walked in a straight line after they went off the path. So how did they think they were lost? It's like, just keep going, just keep going back. Yeah, I don't know, but the wolf, they keep hearing it, and like they start to panic a little more and more, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" You know, and finally they like start running, and then David, who ends up being the main character, like falls over. You do a little where you at first you're like, "Oh, here it is," but he just falls over. And then you get a great, the dude turns around, and he's like, "You really scared me, you shit." And he's like, "You gonna help me up?" And the dude's like, "Yeah." And then fucking, rah! Just werewolf out of nowhere. And man, when I watched this movie for the first time, I was shocked at how dead that guy gets. Because that werewolf munches on homie's chest for like...
It fucked him up real good.
Yeah. And his homie gets up and just starts running. Meanwhile,
he immediately takes off. And his homie's like, "Motherfucker, help!"
Yeah, he's
screaming. He's like, "Help me! I'm
ah!
dying. It's killing me." And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay. And then the homie's just booking it with his
booking
big
it,
ass backpack. The
booking
fucking
it.
Jansport product placement was
Yeah,
insane.
booking it, but then randomly after like a minute of running, stops and he's like, "I gotta go back." And it was like, "What? It's too
Yeah,
late
whatever
now."
his friend's name was. So he's running. He's like, "Oh, Jerry!" Like he forgot his friend's getting mauled. Then
Yeah,
turns around, runs back, and he's like, "Oh, already dead." I'm
yeah,
like, "Great job, dude."
yeah. And he goes back, and homie is all fucked up. And then the wolf jumps out at him, and it only manages to get like a slash on him before the townsfolk who were at the pub that sort of kicked him out show up, and they blast him. And then you get a really good where the dude looks over and he just sees this random naked dude there shot and dying and shit, which obviously is the werewolf. Which apparently, I've also read that like I guess people weren't very keen on what a werewolf was. So when they look over and there's just a naked dead dude there, people were like, "Why the fuck is that guy there?" They didn't realize that that's supposed to be the wolf, you know.
Yeah,
But
no, I totally got that was the
yeah,
wolf. Like, um, it didn't seem like anything else to me. Like, what
yeah,
else would it be? But um, they didn't really. They just shoot the werewolf and it kills them. Like werewolf lore is like you have to have silver bullets, right? Like that's a given. But they didn't mention that, so I was sort of just like, whatever. Uh, Maybe this was before werewolf lore. Like when did they drop werewolves?
Well,
Like
I
when did
mean,
werewolves come out?
there were werewolf movies that was a big Universal monster movie, you know. So I mean, because in the movie they even do the whole like, "Don't I need a silver bullet" and stuff, and they're like, "Come on," you know. So like all that stuff was still around or there already, but I guess people didn't realize that that was what that was supposed to be. But yeah. Anyway, like I said, that whole first 15 minutes of the movie,
It was great.
it was really good.
It was a great
Um,
intro.
there was a great part where once they get in the bar and everyone's just looking at them and shit, where the lady, they're like, "Can I get some coffee?" And she's like, "No." And they're like, "Can I get some soup?" And no. And she's like, "If you want something hot, you're gonna have to get tea." And they're like, "All right, so you have tea?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "Oh shit,
Yeah, she's like, "No, but I can make some."
I
I was
can
like,
make
okay.
some." Yeah,
Like Jesus Christ, her fucking Yelp review is going to the toilet after this.
yeah, and yeah, and then like we said, they were having a real nice time or whatever, and like dude is telling a joke about the Alamo, and and they're on a plane, and the Texan says, "Remember the Alamo," and he tosses out the Mexican, and and everyone's like laughing, and then fucking homie has to ask about because there's a 5-pointed star or whatever on the wall. And so he's like, "Hey, what does that star mean?" And then everyone just stops laughing. And that's about the moment that they're like, "All right, we're gonna head out." But
Yeah, that whole thing was weird as
yeah.
fuck.
And then yeah, because they come to save basically because after they leave, you get a whole bunch of discussions where the lady who runs the bar is like, "You can't just let him leave," and they're trying to figure out if it's murder, and obviously, uh, based on the name of the movie, you kind of know what they're talking about. But anyway, first 15 minutes, pretty solid. Um, so then the whole thing is like the town's trying to keep this big secret, and they tell the police that it was an escaped maniac that attacked them and stuff. And turns out homie has been in like a coma for 3 weeks or whatever in the hospital. Uh, and so his friend's dead, which if it wasn't obvious enough when he went back and he was all just torn up, his friend's dead. And this is when you start getting, like we were talking about earlier, you start getting the first couple things of him just running naked through the woods. And like he sees a deer and he like attacks a deer and rips off its head and shit. Um, and he's having fucking nightmares. There's a random part where like a lawyer shows up to talk about some bullshit. I don't even remember what the lawyer was there to talk about. But man, the way this dude, because he comes in and David's like, hey, and the lawyer Maverick, I swear to God, he goes, hi. Like it was the weirdest hi I've ever heard. That lawyer was terrible, by the way.
He was
was
that
like-
the only part of the movie he was in?
Yeah, that's it. He's never in it again. And he's like, come on, young man, calm down. Don't get so upset. And I was like, okay, we didn't need this.
That scene right there in itself was weird as fuck, because they're like, yeah, we just told you you've been in a coma. Oh yeah, your friend is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude's like, he wasn't even freaking out that bad. Like, he was just trying to get up.
Yeah.
And the doctor's holding him down. The fucking lawyer's not making it any easier. And he's just like, yo, calm down. Calm down. And he's talking like really fast. And he's like, there's no reason to get upset. I'm like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, I was like, it seems like there's a lot of reasons to get upset right now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then what does he say? He's like,
worse.
when the lawyer leaves, he's like, fucking kids nowadays don't got any respect. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that dude was weird.
The lawyer was weird. Yeah. Another weird character is the random fucking kid at the hospital who always says no.
No. Yeah, that was all they get him to say.
Yeah, like, there is where she's asking the kid, she gives him medicine, and she's like, you feeling better? And he's like, no. And I'm imagining, he's like, I got leukemia, bitch. What do you mean am I feeling better? I ain't getting no better. But I don't, and that kid had no reason being in the movie. Also,
for sure.
he has no reason to be in the movie, but later on, there is a really weird thing where the nurse lady is like, have you ever been brutally beaten in the face and neck area? And the kid was like, no. And I was like, is she threatening to beat the child? Like, but, yeah. And then you get another dream, a crazy-ass dream that might be my favorite one in the movie, besides the Nazi one, which is when he sees himself in the hospital bed in the woods, and the lady, like, gets closer to him, and then he's like, and he, like, his face is all turning, and he's got the yellow eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
The audio for it just cut. It was, like, really low, and then when it cut in, the audio just spiked, and it kind of fucked me up.
The audio in this movie is great. Every time, like, when I mentioned earlier, when the dude's like, you gonna help me up? And he's like, yeah, and then the werewolf comes. Every werewolf attack is great, because it's just the werewolf all of a sudden, and it's loud, and, like,
jumps, yeah.
A lot of jumps. They got me on a couple parts. The best one we'll get to later, but there was a legitimate jump where I was like, oh shit. But, yeah. But anyway, so he's in the hospital for a while. He's having the dreams. After that dream I just mentioned, he has the one with the Nazis and, you know, all the shit. Meanwhile, he's sort of developing this weird relationship with the nurse lady, and she's, like, feeding him.
The nurse lady gave me Scarlett Johansson vibes when she was in her, like, nurse outfit. I think it was the hair and the red lipstick. Like, it was super Scarlett Johansson.
Maybe.
Yeah, she's fine as fuck.
Yeah. But then he wakes up. Oh, it's right after the Nazi dream. And when he wakes up, and he's like, holy shit. And then he's laying there. And this is when the movie, I think, for me, when I watched it the first time, went from, like, a weird, just werewolf movie to, like, I don't know. But when he turns around and his dead friend is sitting there, all fucking carved up and shit. And he's like, hey, David. And, like, the fact that the dead friend was hanging around the whole movie, like, really added something. Yeah.
He checks in, like, 9 times, and every time you need to kill yourself.
Yeah.
I was like, what a friend. Yeah. That's a best friend right there, man.
Yeah, his dead friend's here. He's all slashed up and shit. Makeup looks great the first time.
Dude,
admittedly, like, every time he shows back up, he's more and more rotten. And by the end of the movie, he's like, his face is like a skeleton. Like, it's like, but the first time, I think he looks the best. That second time that he shows up later in the apartment that we'll get to, I think they could have done a little better with that makeup. He just looked like green, like he had some mossy shit on him. But Yeah, his friend shows up, and this is when he tells them that they were attacked by, as he puts it, werewolves. Like, the way he kept saying it, I was like, you gotta stop. But he tells them, they were attacked by a werewolf. Dude is damned to walk the earth as the living dead until the werewolf's bloodline is separated. And then it turns out that David is the last of the werewolf's bloodline. So, I'm thinking they're going to do, like, sugarcoat it, and he's going to be like, you need to die, David, or something like that. But no, homie's like, kill yourself. Do it.
Yeah, not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
And, yeah, that was good. And then he's like, I'm bored, David. Have you ever talked to a corpse? This sucks. And which is funny because David's talking to a corpse right now. That's the but yeah. So that's wild. And David just thinks he's going crazy and he's like calling for the nurse.
Yeah, at this point in the movie, he doesn't believe, does he believe he's a werewolf?
Well, I don't know, because when the nurse comes in, he gives her a smoochie, and then he's like, I'm a werewolf. She was like, what? And he's like, yeah, my dead friend was just here. He told me I'm going to hurt people on the next full moon or whatever. And I got to tell you, because then he gets released from the hospital, and she's like, hey, you can come stay with me. And they immediately just start fucking while they're there. You get like a 4-minute just
slow-mo. You get a she's like, I'm gonna take a shower if you want to watch the telly.
Yeah,
watch television, and immediately cuts to them both naked in the shower.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, good for you.
But so they're living in the apartment, in her apartment, and they're fucking, and that night, like, dude goes to the bathroom, and this is when he does the classic horror thing where he opens up the medicine cabinet and then closes it, and his dead friend's standing there in the corner. He's like, ah! And once again, dead friend, more decayed and shit. And yeah, this is when he's like, the full moon's tomorrow, you're gonna kill people, kill yourself again. And the dude's like, fuck you, I don't even believe you, But then, this is when, because he goes back to bed with the nurse lady, and he's sitting there, and he's like, my dead friend tells me I'm going to murder people tomorrow. I'm a monster, or whatever. And this bitch is just like, you're so attractive. And I was like, I feel like these are some some signals. Like, the fact that she just wasn't bothered at all by homie.
Yeah, this lady was fucking dumb.
Yeah, like, and I mean, dude hasn't been right since he woke up, because he woke up and immediately started telling the doctor it was like it was a wolf that attacked them and all this shit. And like, and he keeps talking about seeing dead friends and he's gonna murder people, and she never once bats an eye. Like, it was just so weird how she didn't care at all. I've seen theories that maybe because he's a werewolf, he has like some power over women or some shit.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so that's why she doesn't like get any weird, But that's, once again, that might be a reach, but that's what some people have said about it. Because other people are like, her character is really weird. But yeah, and so then you get like fucking, he lets girlfriend out the next morning, and you get like 30 seconds of this dog barking at him, and then it pans up and 2 little ginger girls are standing there, and they're just like, ha 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 ha, and it's like 30 seconds of just these girls laughing at him, and then they run off. Didn't need to be there. Like, and then whenever we get to best of worst of, I'm gonna spoil it. Here's my worst of coming up. Is he goes back inside. First, he locked the door somehow, so he has to like crawl in through a window, and you get another scene of like a cat hissing at him. And he gets inside the apartment, and then he goes and sits down in front of the television, and he turns it on, and it's like 2 minutes of him just looking at the television and watching it, and nothing comes from it. He just turns it off after like 2 minutes, and that's it. What, Maverick, why the fuck did we need to watch 2 minutes of this guy? Watching.
I don't know. like halfway through, for just a little bit, it got way too um like there was a lot of shit that shouldn't have been in there. And then at the end, there was like we said, the beginning of the movie, great, right?
uh
Like halfway through, it got a little slow, and then the end, it was just so long, and I was like, when is it? I skipped some shit. I forget what I skipped, but
motherfucker.
I did. I
The
skipped some shit.
beginning or the end of this movie's kick ass. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I didn't skip the end. The end was good, but like 10 minutes or so, before the whole movie theater
Oh yeah.
massacre, like right before that, I was like skip,
Okay.
like 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, fucking just skipping that shit.
Um. Yeah, like I would say the first when he's in the hospital, I would say the movie's still pretty good because he's having all the crazy dreams and you get the dead friend and stuff. That like 20 minutes where he leaves the hospital in between where he finally turns into a werewolf, it's really like, all right, we're going to do something, you know, and you're just kind of waiting for it to happen. But they do kind of make up for the TV part because then next they have a really good where they just start playing Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And I was like, because tomorrow he's going to kill us with Bad Moon Rising. Don't go out tomorrow, you know. But, yeah, and it's just him waiting around because now he's all anxious because he's like, am I going to turn into a monster? And fucking, they show a scene of the moon coming out. And then it just cuts to dude reading a book, and then he's just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Yeah, that was my worst stuff. Was that scene, and I was like, so he's just sitting in a chair, right, and then it starts flipping
He's just
out.
reading the book. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like the pain, and
yeah,
he's
man.
yelling at the top of his lungs, and he rips his shirt off, and then just changes. I think after that part, besides the end, even the end, really, yeah, we'll get to that, but movie sucked ass after that.
Well, he like. So are you saying you didn't like the transformation at all?
Transformation was all right. I think for 81, it looked great.
Yeah, it won an Oscar. I'm gonna get into that later.
Yeah, I'm just saying the movie in itself was fucking dog shit after that.
The whole like I uh, part of me agrees with you at the beginning when he's yelling, and like when he takes off his clothes, I'm like, okay, you know, but the whole like transform it because I mean you watch it and it's like, oh yeah, of course this would be painful because dude's like his spine is fucking popping out and his face like his whole
Yeah.
skull. um but yeah, and so finally homie turns into the werewolf. Classic scene of him transforming and shit. And this is when Maverick, I said we get what I think is the best scare of the movie, which is you get this random couple who they're like, let's go around in the back and we're gonna scare Jimmy or whatever. And then they go walking around the back, and then all of a sudden the girl's like, did you hear something? And the guy's like, just now? And she's like, yeah. And he goes, no. And she goes, oh. And then just out of the, it's just werewolf. And man, it got me. I was like, oh shit. And yeah, so he kills them. Fucking some random dude gets sent out to go look what it was from his wife or whatever. She's like, I heard something out there.
Yeah, he walks outside with a fucking scotch in hand.
Yeah.
He's fucking I was like, that's my man right
Yeah.
there. Like
And he goes and he like steps on a severed hand and he's like, oh, and then they do a fake out scare where it cuts to a phone like ringing or whatever. And you think that it's the wolf jumping out, but it's not. Which I think that dude lived. Because later, you never see him. He's not part of the victims or whatever.
yeah.
So
I think he did live.
shout out to the Scotch man. He made it through it. But I'll tell you who didn't make it through it was the three random homeless dudes that were just sitting minding their own business, which they get the least Like, you don't see anything of that. You just hear, like, the wolf getting closer, and then they're like, "Holy Mother of God," or whatever, and then that's about it for that one. Apparently, Maverick, the original cut, I don't know what happens in that scene, but you see them getting murdered, and apparently the people in the audiences were like, "I'm fucking out," and they dipped out with whatever they did for their deaths. So they cut that out, and nowadays the director's like, "I wish I never cut that out." He's like, they cut that out, and there was another part they cut out. But yeah, but the homeless people apparently were supposed to get a way cooler death.
Yeah, when they were showing the whole movie theater scene where dude's talking to the people he killed, I was like, where did these three homeless? They
you
looked
almost
homeless,
yeah.
And I was like, are they homeless people? Like, I didn't remember him killing.
Yeah, they're almost like, it's such a non-death death that you almost forget about them until they pop up at the end, and you're like, oh yeah, there was that scene with the fucking homeless guys. So yeah, he kills homeless people. Then you get a part in the movie, another super famous part, which is the subway scene, where you get the werewolf chasing dude through the subway, and it's a lot of first person shots of the wolf like chasing homie. You get one shot of a homie goes to an escalator or whatever and just eats shit.
He does.
Which I don't know. Have you ever fallen down on an escalator, Maverick?
No, what the fuck?
I was running up one and ate shit, and my shin went. Those things are hard as dick, and like my shin went dead, and it hurt. So I can't imagine homie just eating shit on it. But you get one, yeah, you get one shot of when he's laying on the escalator, of like up at the top, and you can see the wolf like come crawling towards him or whatever. And that's really in the opening, the first time he turns into a wolf. That's really the only time you get a good look at the wolf, you know. Which, how do you like? They went with a four-legged wolf in this one instead of like two-leg on the hind legs and shit.
Yeah, they went with like a very like realistic wolf, more wolf than man.
Yeah,
werewolf, definitely. Which I liked. I enjoyed that.
I liked it too, because I feel like the two wolf is overdone a lot. But
I don't. What movies is there where it's a bipedal fucking werewolf?
The original Wolfman. Well, the original Wolfman movies, it's literally just a dude and he grows some fur. Like it's but I don't know. Like I said, I'm not very well versed in the werewolf. I know that fucking Twilight. I know they're like just Twilight. They're a little bit. They're just real wolves. Like they don't even look intimidating.
Yeah, they're just big.
Yeah, but I don't know. So anyway, he eats the guy in the subway, and then it cuts to homie waking up naked in the wolf enclosure at a zoo, and it was like, oh, okay. He goes running. You get a real weird thing with a naked man in the bushes calling for a little boy to come over there.
That was
and
weird.
I was like, ooh. I like the first time he's like, hey, little boy, come over here. And the kid was like, But
doesn't he say he's like the balloon thief or something?
The balloon thief, yeah. And eventually he like is like, I'll give you £2 if you come over here. And so the kid walks over there, and then dude doesn't even pay him. He just takes his goddamn balloons and goes running. Which, I mean, the balloons I guess offered a little bit of cover, but they didn't really do. And then he just like steals some lady's coat, and he just starts wearing the coat after that. So he just jacked his little kid's balloons for no reason. Yeah, and so he's on his way home. As this is happening, the doctor from the hospital, who at this point through the movie, he's kind of been getting suspicious about what's going on, and he sees in the paper that last night, there was 6 murder victims and shit, and they were found half eaten, and he's like, oh fuck, and so he's like, I gotta get to the bottom of this, and I don't know if it was before that or after that he goes to the pub where Homie was, or where they were at the beginning of the movie. And he gets into a conversation with that guy who's playing darts. And the guy's like, this place isn't right. That boy's going to hurt people. And then random Homie was like, that's enough. And he was like, stop it now. And so they're
You don't like snitches, man.
Yeah. And so at this point, he's like, all right, something's not up, or something's not right, you know? So he calls, also, during the full moon, they found out that dude wasn't at home or whatever. And so then he shows back up, and the doctor calls the nurse lady, and she's like, oh, he's here. And he's like, all right, listen, bring him over here now. He's like, because at this point, he's like, all right, he's a fucking werewolf, you know? I don't know if he knows for sure he's a werewolf at that point, but he knows something's up, you know? So he's like, bring him over here. And so she's like, okay. So they catch a cab. They're going to go to Homie, the doctor. And then on the way, the cabbie's like, you hear about them 6 people who were murdered last night? You know, like all torn apart and shit. And dude is like, oh no.
Yeah.
he jets out of the cab. He's like, I'm fucking werewolf. I killed people and shit. You then get, once again, this part, like, when he's trying to get arrested by the cop and shit, I was like, I didn't need all this, you know? And he's like, fuck Prince Charles, fuck the Queen, and all this shit. Just because at this point he's trying to get arrested so he won't hurt anybody, but they were on their way to the doctor, who was gonna, like, you know, keep them safe or something. And I was like, why not just keep going to the doctor? But apparently dude decides not to. So he leaves his girl. He goes to a phone booth. He like calls his little sister. He's like, tell fucking mom and dad I love them and shit. And then he's like about to cut his wrist, even though, once again, like Family Guy, up and down for results, across for attention. And so he's not going to do it right. But
he's a fucking little pocket knife too.
Yeah, like a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, I'm sure there was like a corkscrew and shit in there.
Screwdriver.
Yeah, and so he can't do it. He's like, "Fuck!" And then he like looks across the street, and then he sees his dead friend back, and his friend's like, "Hey," and he's pointing at the movie theater. And he follows him into the movie theater, and this is once again another part of the movie I really like. Because they have this really, not serious discussion, but, you know, he's showing him all the people he killed who were there in the afterlife with him. And once again, he's like, you need to kill yourself, you're going to hurt people, you know, all this shit. Meanwhile, as this is happening, they're in a porn theater. So the whole time you just hear like, you know, and there's just people banging in the background. And I don't know, something about the director being like, we're going to have this serious scene in a porn theater. Like, it really, it worked.
Yeah, that's
for
a
me.
weird setting.
Yeah. And so yeah, at this point, dude is so decayed. He's like a skeleton in his face. He shows David all the people he killed last night. I like the dude in the subway is like pissed off. And then he's like, this is the 2 married couple, the first people he killed. And they're still like, hey, what's up, homie? Like, they're still all happy and shit. But yeah, and they go over a whole bunch of ways for him to kill himself and all this shit.
That scene was hilarious.
Yeah. As this is happening, though, Maverick, you get, once again, when we go to best of worst stuff, you get my favorite part of the movie, which is on the porn movie. They just stop and they watch the porn for a minute, and this dude breaks in while they're having sex. And he's like, I thought I told you never to do this again. And the guy's like, what? And he's like, I'm talking to her. And she's like, I've never seen you before in my life. And he goes, oh, sorry. He leaves.
Weird as fuck. I was like,
what? I was laughing so hard. I was like, what is this? Yeah, but so he fucking, they're like, it's a full moon again tonight. You're going to hurt people. You need to kill yourself. They don't give him a lot of time, though, because as he's still in the theater, the moon comes out. And he starts turning into the wolf again in theater. You get a gross ass shot of his like the wolf nails coming out of his fingers, like through the tips and shit, and like ripping his fingers open. But he turns into a wolf. He kills a random dude who's in the theater. The lady at the ticket stand comes out. And she's like, "There's a wild dog killing people," and so the cop runs in there. And this is when you get your first real like up close look at the wolf when he comes around the corner. And the wolf's just there eating the dude, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he jets, reasonably so. And he goes outside, and he's like, "There's a wolf," and they like put up this barricade of some sort at the door.
It was a
Just
one
looked
of
like
the
some
shop.
sheet metal or something.
Yeah, it's a roller door. It just comes down. It's
Mm.
just like a shop door.
And yeah, he's like, "Everyone, hold the door." Then doesn't work. Wolf just busts out, and this is when you get also a part we didn't mention because once again, there's no real reason for it being there. Is you get a scene earlier where they bring in these investigator dudes, and David's like, "I got killed by a wolf," and the investigator's like, "No, you didn't. You just woke up from a coma. We saw, it was a guy. We have witnesses and all this shit." And then he has like his trainee with him. And he's like, "Well, maybe he's telling the truth." And the guy just sort of looks at him, and so he shuts up. And so I only mentioned that, Maverick, because in case you didn't notice, when the wolf breaks out and he grabs that dude by the head and rips his head off, that's the guy, the inspector dude from the earlier, that he was like, "You're not a wolf," or whatever. So he breaks out, rips dude's head off, and this is when the movie went from like 0 to 100 because it's just chaos. People are wrecking. You get like a dude flying off a moped getting run over, and like another car slamming into a bus, and the guy goes flying out the windshield. And I mean, I don't know how many people die. I bet you the same amount of people died just in that scene, just by car accidents, that the werewolf had killed in the movie. Like, so many people were just dying because of car wrecks. And so the fucking, they all hell is breaking loose. At this point, the doc and the nurse are like on their way, and all the cops are coming, and they're like, "There's a wild dog in town square. We got to go there and shit." Somehow David ends up like down an alley, and they have him cornered. I think he just goes down there by himself. So they have him cornered. The nurse lady like breaks through, and she goes running down there. And the wolf's like down there, and she's like, "They're gonna kill you, David." And then she's like, "I love you, David." And the weird thing is like, it seems like he recognizes her because his face like softens up and shit. But he still lunges for her. Like, he goes to kill her, and so they shoot him. And then they come down there, and the homegirl's crying, and they look down, and David's just there all naked and dead. And then the next thing you know, it's just bow, 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 bow.
It really killed the mood, yeah.
I really love the ending of this movie with just the cut to the bow, 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 bow. And like such a weird, because it goes from such a like, this doom love story you've had throughout the whole movie, and dude's dead, just to like this random fucking music. It's so good. But and so that's the end of the movie. Also, I don't know if you noticed in the credits, Maverick. I don't know how much of them you watch. Randomly, I saw Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog were in the credits as themselves, and I was like, where the fuck were they at? Apparently, in one of the dude's dreams, the Muppets were on, and so Miss Piggy and Kermit are like on the TV, but I missed it.
Yeah, I missed that too.
But yeah, why do you think he still went after her when it looked like he recognized her?
I don't think there's any explaining that.
Well, earlier he had mentioned that werewolves can only like be killed by ones they love or something. So like,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know if it's like maybe. Yeah, I don't know why he did it. Maybe the only thing I can think of is maybe when she was like, "I love you," he thought the only way that he could leave her without her being destroyed was if he like went to attack her. Because if he just got shot and it seemed like he recognized her, she probably would have been even more upset. I don't know. But if he like tried to attack her and then got shot, then maybe he's like, well, she'll think that I was too far gone. I don't know. It's weird that they would have it be that he obviously recognizes her, but still goes to attack her. Yeah. Oh, but anyway. So, let's do best of, worst of. Even though I've said
I've said both
of my best of is the random porn where dude's like, "Oh, sorry," and he leaves. And my worst of is the 2 minutes of him just watching. It's so weird that they just have him there watching TV that I almost thought there's that scene in Shaun of the Dead where when the zombie apocalypse kicks off and dude doesn't notice it, and he goes home and he's flipping TV, and every station he goes to like continues the sentence. And so he's like, next we have flesh eating, and it like, keeps continuing it. I almost thought that like I missed something they were saying on the TV, and like it was alluding to. I thought I thought he was gonna turn the TV off, and his dead friend was gonna be standing behind him in the reflection or something. But no, it's just him watching TV. So anyway, what was your best of, worst of, Maverick?
Best of was all the cosmetics, man. They were fucking great.
Hey, we're good.
Especially for 81. The makeup especially was like when Homeboy was I don't remember if it was in the hospital or not, but when it was like he wasn't decayed at that point, but he was it was Guy's friend when he was all ripped up and like pieces of skin were hanging off his face and shit.
Yeah, that's the first time you see him in the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can like see his neck all torn open and stuff.
Yeah. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Worst of was that scene where he flipped out of nowhere. Like it just I think was that the first time he turns?
That's
where
the
he
first
was reading
time,
the book? Yeah. Yeah, he just after that the movie I've said it already, but the movie went to shit. And I sort of tuned it out, but
like I said though, so I think the year prior, the Elephant Man had come out, and somehow the Elephant Man it had sparked a conversation of why there isn't any makeup awards at the Oscars, because makeup is like such a big part of movies and shit. And obviously the Elephant Man, I mean that was a lot of makeup to get that guy to look like the Elephant Man, So because of the Elephant Man, the next year, 1981, they implemented best makeup at the Oscars, and the very first winner of best makeup was American Werewolf in London for the makeup in the movie. Very well deserved. So shout out them. This movie had a budget of $5.8 million, made a box office of $62 million. So never been any sequel, which the dude said when he was making the movie. He's like, we're not making a sequel to this, even though they really wanted to. I don't remember. They had an idea of how they could kill David at the end, but make it so you didn't know for sure, so they could have it. And the dude was like, no. He's like, we're not making a sequel.
I wonder why.
He just wanted it to be a standalone movie. I did see that his son apparently like 4 years ago, I think, had said that he was planning on remaking it. So you might get a remake of it eventually by his son, but I don't think. Apparently he had also at one point was like, you know what, maybe I can make a sequel, and it was going to be American Werewolf in Paris, but he decided not to. But it almost reminded me because we did 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, and 28 Weeks ended with them like running where you see the Eiffel Tower or whatever. And I think when we looked it up, they had plans, and the movie was like going to be called 28 Weeks in Paris or some shit. And we were like, oh fuck! But I don't think it's ever coming out. But shout out to 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. Um, let's see what else we got here. Apparently, Homie, who played David at the time, was just known because of Dr. Pepper commercials. Apparently, he was a Dr. Pepper spokesman. And then after the movie, he got canned because he was naked in it, and they were like, "We can't have you doing our ads because you were naked in this movie." So, rip the Dr. Pepper ads. Also, speaking of naked, I saw this that I'm just going through all the facts now. Is they had to avoid filming any full frontal scenes for David, even though at one point you do get like a flash of cock when he's at the zoo.
Really?
Yeah, if you look, when he like goes to jump up, but because David in the movie is Jewish, which I think I missed that part where he was Jewish, and dude playing him wasn't circumcised, so they were like, well, doesn't make sense for you to have this cock here, so so they didn't film any full frontal. Yeah, let's see. What else we got? Oh, also Maverick. I saw this and it made sense that if the makeup in the bed seemed familiar at all, where his eyes turn yellow and shit, it might be because Michael Jackson loved this movie so much that you're damn right he hired all the makeup people and the director of this movie to direct the Thriller music video, and so that's why at the end he has the yellow eyes and everything. And it's because everyone in this movie also did the makeup for the Thriller video. So, shout out. Shout out Thriller. Yeah. Nice. Anyway. I think that's about it for this one. That's all the... Oh, there was one. Can we talk about the part at the beginning that also you can't put in movies now, where dude is talking about his crush at home, and he has a line where he goes, "I want to make love to her. It's that simple. She has no choice." And I was like, "Oh,
I don't remember that."
That's the very beginning of the movie when they're just walking and they're talking or whatever. And I was like, "Oh my god." But yeah, so I don't know what Homie was planning on doing when he got home, but it might be a good thing he got killed by that werewolf. Yeah. Also, the guy pulls the classic, all right, well, I'll tell you a joke, but you start it. And so the guy's like, all right, knock, knock. And he's like, who's there? The guy's like, what? And it's like, classic joke right there. But anyway. That's the end of An American Werewolf in London. Next week, Maverick's picking. What are we watching?
I'm thinking Shutter Island, but I also wanted to see if you wanted to do... I've never watched any of the It movies, so I know there's, 2 out right now?
Well, there's 3.
Oh, is there 3? Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's the It from, like, the last couple years, and then there's, like, the original one from the 90s.
I don't know. We'll discuss on which one. I'm not really up for watching the older ones. All the hype is for the newer ones, right?
Well, I mean, if you're a normie.
Hurry.
Both of them have the one from the 90s. The one from the 90s is like a mini series, so I think it's like 6 hours long or something. But each one has, the first one is their kids, and each one when they're kids it slaps, and then when they're adults it sucks. So yeah. But anyway, I don't know. Well, I guess we're gonna watch Shutter Island then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You what are your thoughts on Shutter Island? I don't
like
think I've
it.
ever seen it.
It's pretty good. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a horror movie, but it's
Really?
under thriller and mystery.
Yeah,
and
it's
shit.
a horror thriller, so
But yeah, I like it. So
do just from like the 30-second trailer or whatever, it definitely seemed like a thriller
Yeah,
somewhat.
yeah. So it's more of a horror than Beetlejuice. So so anyway,
Beetlejuice 2 coming soon.
it's not. It's never gonna come until we make it.
We'll make it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it. Comment below if we should watch it, the old one or the new one. So
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for Shutter Island. Also, throughout the week, there's gonna be some little YouTube shorts coming out. We're gonna start doing that. So little clips from the past, a blast from the past, if you will. So go check those out too. Anyway, all right. See you next week. Shutter Island. Bitches.
wow.
That was rude. I'm sorry.